Welcome in. It is Lee Company Titans Talkback. Brent Dougherty, Dr. Kevin Dyson with you here to allow you a vent opportunity. We are here until 6:30.
Get vent.
Vent, yeah. Just lay on the couch. We're the therapists here for you.
Therapy session.
Although we probably have some anxiety associated with that game as well. Titans lose 31-28 to Indianapolis. Again, Lee Company Titans Talkback. At Brent Dougherty, at KT Dyson 87 on the X machine, as Don Davenport likes to call it. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Tough one today, Dice, and tough to explain away 2 block punts and a missed extra point. Like, I get Tannehill hadn't held or whatever, but don't you work on that anyway, just in emergency situations? Like, y'all worked on the Music City Miracle, for crying out loud. Yeah. Don't you work on backup holding?
Yeah, I was the backup holder when I was here.
There you go.
But I was the backup holder for Craig Hendrick. And every now and then I held for Joe Nedney and Aldell Greco just in case.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so I would do sometimes in practice just to know, just in case.
They win the game if that extra point happens. So let me, because I don't know. Mm-hmm. So you can correct me. But it looked like Tannehill looked kind of uncertain, and then he spun the ball, like spinning the laces toward the kicker, and then stopped it. And then
he was trying to spin it away. I think he lost sight of where the strings were.
Because so they spun toward him, and he stopped it.
Because he realized the strings were almost in place. So he actually, there's 2 different spins. There's a spin away from you, obviously the spin towards you. And it's typical, so more often than not, spinning towards you is how you catch it, right? And depending on the resolution from the center. Like, when I got here, Bruce Matthews was our snapper. And I had never had
incredible.
I never had a snapper.
A Hall of Fame offensive lineman is the long snapper.
And all I do is catch and put down. The strings were always 9.8 out of 10 times facing towards the target every time. I just had to put it down.
Talk about that. Yep.
Yeah. Every now and then I had to spin it, but very few. He had it down to a science. So Tannehill hadn't been doing it a whole lot. I'm sure he does a few times of practice here and there as the emergency backup guy. So instinctually, a lot of times the strings are pointed the opposite direction. You're used to spinning the ball towards you as opposed to going away from you. But even still, most kickers will make that kick. I think even Nick Folk owned up to it, like that was him over kicking, and he came across his body a little bit because the ball was placed in the right spot. It's just the strings are pointed towards Tannehill.
What's interesting is Tannehill, you could see him tell Nick Folk, my fault.
Bad. Mm-hmm. And I think you can't really tell on TV the lean of the football. A lot of kickers like the ball straight up and down, not leaning backwards like we used to do with Charlie Brown, lean the ball back to try and get up in the air when we're little kids.
Don't even get me started with Charlie Brown.
But I can't tell with the lean, and then they like to lean the ball slightly up and down, slightly towards you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how that could affect it more so than the strings in a lot of respects. I think a lot of times if the strings are pointing back at him and you're actually kicking the strings, that can affect the kicker a lot. But again, if and buts, ands and buts.
Did you see them working on the sideline?
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, one of them, Tannehill caught it and set it down, and you could see Folk walk over and, like, change the tilt of the football.
Change the tilt of it because they have a preference of what it is.
Right, so that drives me crazy. Like, Tannehill should have known. Like, they should have worked on that to where Tannehill knew that when he went in the game for Stonehouse.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Well, see, if Tannehill's a backup, I bet you more often than not.
And he's been hurt, too.
Yeah, and I bet you he's been holding for Stonehouse, who is the emergency kicker in a case that Folk goes down, right?
Oh.
And like I was for Craig Hendrick. I was his holder. Okay. So when he was practicing field goals and we do situational stuff, I would go in holding for him. And every now and then, like I said, like Craig wasn't practicing, I would hold for Joe or Al or whoever. And just because he wasn't practicing, so I was the next guy up. And again, it's just one of those things. It's not like Tannehill spending a whole bunch of time holding extra points and field goals. You know, it's just it's a thing. Stonehouse probably likes it a little bit different than Folk. Obviously, he's a punter by trade. Craig liked the ball a lot different than Joe Nedney, you know, and Al.
Well, and that's a lefty-righty.
And that's again, that was my problem. I was ambidextrous, if you call it, for a holder, because it is different.
It is
because now my spin hand is my left, and my guide hand is my right versus the other side of the football.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
People don't think about the intricacies that are involved in this, but I will bet you, like throughout Mike Vrabel, the rest of his career, that backup holder is getting some time with the starter. That's definitely happened.
The phase of the game you're not necessarily thinking about. You know what I mean? Like, who thinks you're going to need that?
Yeah. 2 block punts. Well, they called the second one a fumble and not a block punt. They were 2 block punts. Like, what happened there?
So I'm going to pick on Josh Wiley for a second because that's what happened. They picked on him. They overloaded the first one. They overloaded our right side, their left side. So they had 4 blockers for three guys to block. So 4 rushers for 3 blockers. In that instance, you go inside out. Josh Wiley went outside in, opening up the floodgates for the guy on the inside to have a free reign towards the punter. So you're always told work inside out. You got to count your numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got the longest way to go. You work inside out. That's the shortest distance to the punter. Well, the correction was he did it on the next one. They overloaded, but the overload came from the corner late, which he identified. But I bet you they told him, look, you got to go inside out. So in that instance, he was right, but he needed to punch and fan back out because he became the additional rusher. The guys inside were accounted for. And so, but I think he was overcompensating. This is my take on it. He was overcompensating because of the first time around, he didn't want that inside rush to come, that he didn't get outside. And now that guy comes scot-free and essentially probably ended Stonehouse's season.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah. And they picked on the rookie a little bit.
So they knew they had that second one set up.
They did. And they just overloaded that side. And they essentially had the same block called, just gave them a different look. They overloaded that right side.
I've seen a lot of teams when it's just an automatic call, more so in college football than the NFL, but that it's an automatic call. If the gunner comes, you throw it out there.
Yeah.
No matter where you are. Yeah. What was there help coming over? I didn't notice.
Yeah, there was a guy on the other side. They were backed up. They weren't going to do nothing like that. That was just one of those things where, again, they count the numbers, right? From the personal protector, he has probably a gap, and that we'll call him 0, and you go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 on your way out. So he has the fastest track, which is right through that A gap. He usually picks up 0, and then you go guard, tackle, end, picks up the next 3. Well, and so
that guy's just going to come unprotected.
No. So he didn't count right. So we should have it. So the guard tackle end should have fanned out. So he should have fanned out to that one. So what they did was the first time around they miscounted. The Titans did, and he fanned out to that 4th guy as opposed to staying in tight to that 3rd guy who was the one that came free. So the correction was, I'm sure Craig was like, look, you got to protect the inside first and not the outside. Well, they had enough. From my perspective, I don't know. I had to look at the film again. It looked like they had enough from a protection standpoint that this time he could fan out to that extra rusher when he was overly concerned with, and I get it because you just gave up a block with that inside rush. And so he stayed inside and allowed the guy on the outside to come scot-free. It was a chess match, a battle of wits, and they knew they had this rookie probably on his heels who just given up a block thinking. And so they said, how can we attack him again to see what he does? And what he do? He overcompensated, stayed inside, and allowed the rusher come from outside scot-free.
It's a beautiful description of a
the
main way the Titans lost.
Yeah,
really,
it was the same block, just a different look.
615-737-1045 if you want in. We'll start the phone calls when we come back. Titans Talkback, presented by the Lee Company. Brent Dougherty, Dr. Kevin Dyson. Your phone calls, your reaction next on 1045 The Zone. 3HL 104.5, The Zone on the air tomorrow. I do this at least once a day.
There you go. I like
do this. Brent Dougherty, Don Davenport, and Ron Slay. We'll hit you tomorrow from 3 until 6. Well, the entire radio station on Monday will be breaking down all of this. Titans Colts, also the college football playoff. I said on Friday, we talked about it all week, actually. It's like, the committee does not want Alabama to beat Georgia.
Oh, they didn't.
Oh, my goodness. Or Iowa to beat Michigan. And here we sit. And I kept saying, I cheer for chaos.
There you go. I was one of those people, I said, this might be the first year we don't see an SEC school in, just because the criteria was go undefeated, win your conference. And then Alabama won, but the team that they lost to this year in Tuscaloosa was Texas, who dominated and won their conference. So I thought you were going to get the 3 Power 5 schools that won the conference in Texas, which I think most people would have said they agreed to, except for being an SEC country.
Here's the thing, too, is we can debate who should be there and who shouldn't, but the fact that Florida State is undefeated and is not there.
That looks bad on the committee, in my opinion.
Right. But, ultimately, if you want to have a discussion about it, put yourself in their shoes.
Yep. Yeah.
What would you be saying if you were Florida State right now?
Oh, what else do I need to do?
Well, plus, they wouldn't play in the playoff with the freshman quarterback you just saw against Louisville.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know they don't have their starter, Jordan Travis, and that sucks because I love that kid. I love watching him play. I love his story. He almost quit football. He transferred from Louisville.
Yeah.
But Mike Norvell and those guys, got him to stay and trust us. And man, what a season he was having. And it's just unfortunate for Florida State fans for sure.
Absolutely. And
somebody was going to get left out.
Somebody's going to be left out.
This is why we needed the 12-team playoff, which is what I've said forever.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, nah, it works itself out.
This shows human error right there. Human error and bias, in my opinion. It shows it because, what else do you have to do? They beat everybody on the schedule, and at that time.
We need more than 4, though. That's what I'm saying.
That's the only way you can maybe salvage it, but that's just my opinion.
And maybe Florida State would have gotten run. I don't know. But, TCU was in there last year, and they gave up 70. So,
they probably would. Who knows? But their defense is pretty good, and they got some weapons on offense, and they did what they're supposed to. Win your conference, go undefeated in a Power 5 conference.
Titans lose 31-28 to Indianapolis. Traylon Burks back today.
He was?
I didn't notice it. I didn't even think about it until you told me before the show.
I saw him out there, especially in the second half, late in that fourth quarter. That last drive, he ran a couple routes, but I didn't see him much other than that. He didn't have any targets or anything like that. So, I guess you got to, warm up the car a little bit and see what he can do.
It's a frustrating situation.
It is.
For everyone involved, including him.
And I bet he is as frustrated as anybody else. You start hearing those whispers and
for sure.
People start wondering, can you do it? And trust me, I've been in his shoes as a first-round pick, so I get it, man. It just you hope that he's over that hump from this injury bug and can be a productive player for the team.
Some injuries we'll talk about later. Big Jeff went to the locker room. Derrick Henry went to the locker room. Wiley went to the locker room. Christian Fulton got injured, and then they picked on his replacement right after. You knew that was coming.
Oh, of course.
And they get the touchdown, the game winner. Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Let's go to Tony in Lafayette. We're starting to get your reaction. Tony, what's up?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Enjoy listening to you.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I got a couple of questions. First comment is for the secondary.
Yep.
What are we going to do next weekend with Murphy Bunting and Avery trying to cover Hill and Waddle?
My guess is lose, Tony.
Yeah.
Just sitting here thinking about it right now based on what we just saw. I don't know.
They may put up 70 on it.
Well, they've done it before.
I'm going to say this. You will not see in-your-face 101 a lot because you saw what Washington did today and it didn't work out well for them.
Right. Yes, sir, absolutely. And my last question is, how does a professional football team get 2 punts blocked back-to-back?
I've never in my life seen that.
No,
I've never seen a team have 2 punts blocked.
Yeah.
Now, one they called a fumble, but we all know it was blocked. But I've never seen that before, ever.
I know, guys. I just don't know where to go with this team. I love them. I'm a season ticket holder. I'll be there, but it's getting really frustrating. So I don't know where we go from here.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's tough that Miami's coming up.
Well,
it's not like you have a get well game.
No, you don't. And I'm going to say this.
Maybe it's good. I don't know.
The likes of Tyreek Hill have not been seen. I don't think he's the most gifted route runner in the world, but he is so gifted and so fast. It's remarkable in a league of fast individuals that he's that much faster than everybody else. And there's no, Titans aside, nobody has an answer for this dude. He's got almost 1,500 yards receiving with how many games ago? I mean, he's on pace to shatter Jerry Rice's record. I mean, he's going to be a 2,000-yard receiver if he at this pace.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy.
That's Madden.
I mean,
that's Madden PlayStation numbers, man.
Yes, and he has said that since the offseason. 2,000. I'm going after 2,000.
2,000 yards receiving.
Like, let everybody know.
And he plays at such a different speed than everybody else. And again, he's not an elite route runner by any stretch of imagination. I don't think so. But he is a player.
That offense is tough to zone up though, because they have those like one read quick strike things off the fake handoff, boom.
You can't live on a dose of zone, and you have to challenge him. But if you miss like they did today, it's a wrap. So it's danged if you do, danged if you don't. Because if you sit back in zone, he just finds his own and they pick you apart. But if you go man to man, they find the matchup, and if you miss him, they pick you apart. So it's you got to be able to mix it up. And the thing that seems to help teams against Miami is getting after Tagovailoa. You have to get after him. You have to get after Tua. I mean,
that's where the man-to-man comes in. But if you don't get to him, then you're dead.
You're dead. But you have to get to him and get him off the spot, make him uncomfortable. He'll make some ill-advised throws.
Have fun, Shane Boy.
I'd watch Buffalo. Buffalo seems to, for whatever reason, have their number.
They do. You're right.
Mm-hmm. And their corner's not much faster than everybody else in the league, but they find a way.
New England, of all teams, did pretty well against them. Now, he's undefeated against them, but in terms of like slowing that offense down a little bit, New England just doesn't have the offense. But the first game is the one I'm thinking about.
But my first thought was, we got Miami Monday night after my man just went deep how many times today? What's his name, Pierce?
Oh, Alec Pierce, 3 for 100 and a touchdown. His first touchdown in a calendar year.
Yeah. After he went deep like that, especially there in that overtime, I was like, my first thought was Tyreek Hill's on the horizon.
You think Tyreek Hill's faster than Alec Pierce?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah. Tyreek is by far.
I almost couldn't get that
sorry,
out.
Yeah, it was like, oh, my God.
You looked at me like I was crazy.
I was like, are you serious right now? Tyreek Hill. I don't know in the history of the NFL.
Like, you were one of the fastest guys in the NFL.
But I'm not even close to that.
Right.
And I was a 4.3 guy.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, to me, I'm trying to think. Dale Green, 4.2. There's so many guys that were super fast, but I would love to see that race. I wish we can go and bring guys back at their prime in a foot race. And he's fast at 40. He's fast at 100. Like, he's a guy like Jerry Rice, for instance. Jerry Rice was fast from 40 to 100.
Yeah, but he was like a 4.6 guy.
Yeah, but he's never broke stride. He was still fast. That's why he never got caught, because he was still fast from 40 to 60, where a lot of guys break form. Tyreek Hill does it.
It's always the guys that don't hit top speed either. Like, you rarely see Tyreek Hill hit top speed. CJ was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like, he would only hit top speed if you were there.
Chasing him. Yeah.
And he was breaking an angle or something.
And think of how fast.
Deion Sanders, same thing.
Think how fast
he was high.
Chris Johnson was, CK.
Mm-hmm.
Think how fast he was and how he seemed to have people look like they're running in quicksand. But he didn't pull away as much as Tyreek Hill. I don't know. Maybe he did. He had times when you're like, golly, that dude's so fast. that would be interesting to see them in their front primes too. But Tyreek Hill right now, man, it makes no sense.
All right, every line is loaded. We're going to get your reaction. Titans fall today, 31-28 to the Indianapolis Colts. They lost both games to the Colts this year. We will be with you until 6:30, walking you up to Sunday Night Football. Brent Dougherty, the Dr. Kevin Dyson. This is Lee Company. Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online, leecompany.com. Lee Company Titans Talkback. Brent Dougherty, Dr. Kevin Dyson. We are with you until 6:30, walking you up to Westwood One coverage of Sunday Night Football. Your reaction: Titans lose 31-28 to Indianapolis. 615-737-1045. Just randomly going through bits and pieces in the game while we take phone calls. Obviously, the Titans score first. Derrick Henry, after the 37-yard pass on play action to Chig, Derrick Henry scores his 7th rushing touchdown of the season, first opening drive touchdown in 15 games for the Titans, 85th career rushing touchdown for Derrick Henry, tied for 16th at that time all-time with Marshawn Lynch. 43 rushing yards in the first game, 102 in this game. He said it makes him cringe to look at that stat line from the first game. He had 25 yards on the first drive. But 7-0, Titans jump out. Dyson looked good at that point, and that was something we hadn't seen in a long time, a first drive touchdown.
I felt like, again, we can hash over the stats of this game, and if you look at them based on recent memory from what's happened with the Titans, you would account for them 28 points, running the ball 40-something times, 170-something yards.
Yeah, Henry and Spears 37 for 177 and 2 touchdowns.
And if you saw those numbers, you would feel pretty good about your team winning. Yep. And then in third down, they were even a little bit better. I mean, it's not great. It's still a little bit better. Time of possession had it for nearly 40 minutes of a 70-minute game. You look at that and you're thinking that's why stats don't necessarily tell the whole story. Because when we do the math, it comes down to, in my opinion, 3 plays. The 2 block punts and the bombs over Baghdad at the end of the game to Pierce. Those 3 plays. And that is the difference in this outcome. Granted, 9 points, I think we mentioned in the block punts between the missed 2-point conversion that the Titans converted, and the touchdown, the field goal. And then, of course, the big play put in position to win the game. When the defense had been playing well and you give up the big play. So, again, you look at it, this going down on the record books as a loss, but it's hard. It's a hard pill. That's why I feel like you saw a somber Coach Vrabel. I think he was just like, man, that was hard. That was a hard one to swallow, man. The guys played hard. They fought hard. They were in it. They did a lot of things right, but the few things wrong overshadow a lot of good in this game, and that's just the nature of team sports.
615-737-1045. Brent Dougherty, Dr. Kevin Dyson, Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Again, 615-737-1045. Let's go to Eric in Nashville. Eric, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, guys, just got home from the game, and this is what I saw. After the long drive that we got for the touchdown, the next series, we get called for a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. I believe it was Taunton. Very next play, touchdown bomb. Well, of course, later in the game, they had a field goal where we aided and abetted with a 15-yard face mask call where they got a field goal. If you also remember, we had a touchdown pass called back because of holding. We wound up having to punt. Also, guys, right before the half, of course, we had a 3 and out 4 straight times, 3 and out. It happened twice in the third quarter, or in the fourth quarter. Also gave up 6 sacks, which didn't help. And at times I thought we left the ball too long. We also had a couple of course, blocked punts, which didn't help. And also when they got the touchdown, one of them, I think it was that crazy play where we got the 2-point conversion. We also had the missed extra point, which didn't help. But also we had, if you remember, we had chances for 2 interceptions. Another one near the end of the game. Had we got that deep where inside the 5, we could have probably kicked the field goal and won the game. It seems like every week, guys, whether it's penalties on our defense, which keeps driving for lives for the opposition, or whenever we make a positive play, whether it's a touchdown or a big play, it gets called back because of a holding call, just near misses with interceptions, turnovers. It's just stuff like that that's just so frustrating. It just at times to me feels like this team is cursed, and also with all the injuries. It's just like, what can you say, guys? But that's what I saw today, guys. Y'all take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
I mean, Eric just laid it all out there.
Yeah.
I mean, all the reasons why Tennessee should not have even been in this game, yet they were. And I guarantee you the Colts feel fortunate to walk out there with a W.
Absolutely. And that goes to show you just how fickle and how fine a line is between wins and losses are in sport, let alone professional sport. He named all the things where this could have just gone in a very different direction, either direction. Especially in that first half, the Titans felt like they were dominating. But then You give up the big pass plays, the 2 block punts, another big pass play, the pass interference, like different things, different aspects of the game where you're like, dang, man, what happened? But it goes to show you just how close really these games really are, man. And it's unfortunate that somebody has to lose a game and lose it in this fashion, especially a team that is just urging for wins, man. The Titans needed this win. Again, as a former player, as a fan, I feel for him, man. That's tough. That was a tough one to swallow.
That was a tough one to swallow. As is the fact that the Patriots fans had to watch their team play the Chargers today and lose at home 6-0. Not that makes anyone feel better, but I just looked up the numbers. 498 total yards in that game between both teams.
Dang.
6-0. Patriots are 2-10. Lions beat the Saints on the road 33-28. Lions now 9-3. Falcons and Jets, another tough one to watch. Falcons win 13-8. They're 6-6. Cardinals take down the Steelers 24-10. Steelers were a 5.5-point favorite in that game. The Cardinals were 2-10. They are now 3-10. They were 0-6 on the road, get their first road win. Dolphins, as you mentioned, 45-15. Let's take a little look at the box score there. Texans win against the Broncos 22-17. But again, the Dolphins offense was humming. Tua, 18-24, 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 5 for 157 and 2 touchdowns.
He had a 70-yarder and a 60-something-yarder.
78-yarder.
There you go. And if you saw him,
he averaged 31 yards per catch.
And if you watch him on that video, when you watch the highlights of that, y'all, watch how he just pulls away from other professional athletes that probably run 4 3s and 4 4s.
A-Chain and Mostert, 28 carries for 116 yards and 3 touchdowns for them. That's the next opponent. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. 615-737-1045. More of your reaction. We go back to Lafayette. Keith is next up. Keith, what's up?
Hey, Brent. Can you hear me?
Yo, what up, Keith? Yep.
Hey, man. Big fan. Been with you since day one. What are you doing there on a Sunday?
I wanted to come in here and talk with Kevin Dyson after home games. That's what I'm doing. I'm 4-1
hey, listen,
though.
Man.
I'm 4-1. That was my first L.
Hey, listen, man. I'm 66 years old. I've been watching football since the days of Bart Starr, Lynn Dawson, the Purple People Eaters, all this sort of thing, all these years. You know, just like a lot of guys was brought up with it with my dad watching TV. And I have never seen a game like this, man.
I've never seen 2 block punts back to back.
How could you let that happen? How could you possibly let that happen? Yeah. I mean,
Dice walked us through that in great detail earlier.
Yeah, they attacked the rookie.
They attacked the rookie both times.
The young guy.
Yep.
Wiley, though, man. I mean, wait. If you can't tell me that somebody on that field can't see this guy coming and getting ready to kill our punter. He's right there. He's coming straight to him. And where's the awareness of Stonehouse, man? I don't get it. Do you not see this guy coming at you? Do you not? I'm just a little upset that our punter's been knocked out, okay? Never should have happened. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
Love Ryan Stonehouse, man. And I just feel really, really bad for him. I hope he's not hurt seriously. All right, man. Love you guys. Got to go.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
That didn't
I
look
think
good.
that one's going to be not good.
Yeah, and unfortunate. And he's having a Pro Bowl year, and he may still get the nod. I hope he does. But, yeah.
How about Nick Folk with his first punt in his 16-year career, 40 yards with no return?
No net. 40 net. You up there in the league.
The second one was pretty good, too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's hard to do. I asked Brett Kern one time, like, who the emergency kicker is, and he said, well, it's me. But, like, he said, you wouldn't believe how different of a motion it is kicking field goals or extra points compared with punting. He said it's a completely different – he's like, I would probably pull my hamstring trying to kick a field goal because it's a completely different thing.
Motion. Yep. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, and that's why you saw Folk just try to basically just get it off and get it in the air. And, I mean –
and he did.
And he did.
He didn't overextend. He did enough to get it down the field and caused a guy called a fair catch. The other one had a little short return, but that's kudos. Again, special teams going to take a hit today because of 2 block punts, but they had a pretty stellar game. You got a 2-point conversion. They limit their return game, but the 2 block punts overshadow some of the good that was done.
Definitely true. And the King was good today. 2 touchdowns. So he now has 86 for his career, Kevin Dyson, and he is now tied for 15th all time in rushing touchdowns, Derrick Henry.
Again, Eddie, congratulations, EG. Getting to a semifinalist status this week for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And so my comparison from a statistical standpoint is always him based on, being here. And you can put CK on this too. But what he's at right now, does he get in without the Super Bowl, without the things like Eddie does not have either? Because Eddie had great numbers as well. And he's just now semifinalist.
Yeah, and I would say enjoy what you're seeing from the King because he's a free agent after this season. We all know that.
That's it.
But now we're going to have to monitor these injury situations this week because you had 5 players go down, I guess. 4? I lose track. But Henry with the concussion and left.
Mm-hmm.
They said on the TV copy that Big Jeff had a knee injury, and he left and didn't come back. Wiley had a knee injury, left, and didn't come back. And Christian Fulton left at the end, and then they assassinate Trey Avery on that little
2-point or the touchdown.
Yep.
Yeah. Big Jeff and Derek hurt. Big Jeff not being there next week against a team that is playing track on grass, and they're faster than the Rams of our era. They are,
and that's saying something for those that don't remember. I mean, that team was
loaded with speed
everywhere,
especially at running back and receiver too. But Marsh Falk was just a different type dude. But to not have a guy that's disruptive that can get after the quarterback, where you can utilize other guys in coverage, that's a lot of guys got to step up next week.
Tim Kelly going deep in the playbook. We'll talk about a couple of plays that he called late and take more of your phone calls, your reaction. Titans fall 31-28. They're 4-8 on the season. Road game on Monday Night Football at the Miami Dolphins coming up. It's going to be tough. Titans trust their home stadium to lead company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit leadcompany.com. Lead Company, all you need. Titans tonight, presented by Lee Company. Titans fall 31-28 to Indianapolis. How much does this one hurt a little bit more? Because it's the Colts.
I think so.
I mean, division game for sure, but also it's the Colts.
It's the Colts division game. The way you lost, aside from maybe that 10 minutes in third quarter, you don't feel like the Colts really had their thumb pressed on you. They made a few more plays than you, and those few plays they made more than you were monumental.
Does it suck as a player? For those that don't know, Kevin Dyson played a long time in the NFL, including for this franchise. But does it suck from a player perspective when it's all self-inflicted? Like you literally win the game without all the self-inflicted crap.
I'm gonna tell you from a personal player standpoint, man. It's you don't necessarily leave the locker room with your head between your legs like sulking, but there's an amount of pride that you have, and the world is watching. Like they're gonna be showing highlights on SportsCenter and they're going to be doing all the things. But if you, like, for instance, Murphy Bunting there at the end, that's you, 101, all eyes on you. You just gave up a big play. There's a level of pride that comes with that where he just has to sit and embrace that until he can get over it, which will be the next day. Because he's going to sit at home. He's going to think about it. He's going to watch the film. He's going to think about it. And then at some point, just like a win, you have to let it go and move on to the next one and do better next time.
Plus, he had, right before that play, he had a penalty that wiped out a sack.
Yep. And
then they went right back at him.
Right at him. And I think that more so than anything, again, he was holding him. I mean, it is what it is.
He was.
But they saw we're going to take an opportunity, we're going to take a shot. Because if you miss, now you put the Titans on their heels, and they slow that pass rush a little bit too.
But if you're the OC, do you do that, wondering if he's holding his head because of that play?
Oh,
so let's go right back at him.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case he is?
Oh, yeah, because now he's worried about getting called a penalty. He's like, he's not going to hold this time. Let's see what happens. And he gave it to him. So you talking about a 50-50 ball, low percentage play, made it look high percent. It was a great ball, dropped it in the basket.
Which they don't do. They don't throw the deep ball.
And he dropped it right.
So
in
that
the
was
basket.
probably part of what was going on there. They got the same game plan everybody else has.
And then he took an inside release, and typically when you take an inside release like that, you probably thinking an end cut, so he maybe trailed a little bit more than he should have. He didn't get his hands on him. I'll be interested to hear Blaine's take on it from a DB's perspective, because I think he's going to say, one, why are they in that position right there? Is 2-3 minutes in the game. Why are you playing aggressive like that? Because a lot of times corners have that flexibility, that autonomy to say if I'm playing up tight or playing off, especially when you're in man coverage. And so I don't want to speak for Blaine, but I'm trying to think, like, I worked with that dude for a lot of years, played with him, how he would process it. He's going to say, in that situational football, situational awareness, why am I up? Keep everything in front of you. Make them go the length of the field. A field goal is your friend. A touchdown is not. So why play aggressively after you just got called for the penalty in that situation? Now, I don't know the play calls. I don't know, but usually they give corners that flexibility in a man-to-man call. Do you want to be up on them or play off? So, and again, I don't want to speak for Blaine, but I've been with that man long enough. I'm thinking that's what he's going to say.
He'll explain it tomorrow from 1 until 3 o'clock. Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Waynesboro. Willie Joe next up. Willie Joe, what's up?
Yeah.
What up, man?
Hey, I just got back home to Waynesboro from the game, drove up there, went to the game, go to the Jack Daniels stand, $40 for 2 drinks. Should have left right there. But I stayed, so I got 3 quick points. Number 1, the Colts fans should send the officials of the game today Christmas cards, because that was about the worst officiated game I ever seen. Number 2, Treylon Burks, they showed promos when they drafted him of catching fish. I hope he catches some fish this year, because he sure ain't catching no balls. He's probably a bust. And number 3, it's time for Vrabel and his 1991 style of football. It's time to fire the whole staff. Get 2 punts blocked. I've been watching football my whole life. Never seen 2 punts blocked in one game. And
much
it's
less
just
back to back.
We got a gunslinger quarterback, $100 million, a new GM. Get us a staff with offensive minds, and let's go play some football. Because the Titans didn't look too bad, but the coaches kill them with the play calls. It's unreal. And Vrabel's a defensive coach, And you have to know Michael Pittman is going to kill you today. So why would you not double him? He caught so many balls I lost count at the game. I just quit watching. So that's all I got. And I hope Amy Adams Strunk and Rand Carson fire Mike Vrabel tomorrow morning. And that's what I would do.
Okay. Thanks, brother. Ain't happening.
No, it's not happening. We've hashed that over the last 3-4 weeks. And I know there's
for those that don't know, Diana Rossini had a story last week that said Vrabel's good.
Yeah, and I get it. And this day and age of everybody just wants to move on and try something different. But they've already drawn the line in the sand with Vrabel, and he's here. So just kind of get
now,
that to everybody.
They start messing around next year, then
there's a different conversation, right? But again, I think it's going to be important on what is done this offseason.
Now, you know as well as I do, the NFL's a crazy world. Go ahead and lose out and see what happens.
No, that's different too, right? Now
Yeah.
there's a different kind of conversation. And then are the guys not responding, meaning are they getting worse by the game? Today wasn't one of those, and to me, I get it. You lost. You hate to see your team lose. But this wasn't a game where you felt like, oh, this team sucks. They had a few moments. Yeah. But they had a few moments where it's like you bang your head against the wall, like, dang, if we just protect on punt, this is a different type of game. Oh, we don't miss extra points. Just you don't give it the big play at the end of the game. It's just a couple things like that. So it could have been a totally different outcome. I get it. He's going to be on the hot seat sooner if they don't win out. But next year, I think that's going to be the conversation. Like, we got to see improvement, and we got to see you guys being competitive, or the conversation begins.
615-737-1045. Dylan in Antioch. What up, dude?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm not quite as crazy as the last caller, but I'm still a little crazy. So, Craig Aukerman, what does he do?
He's a special teams coach.
He's a special teams coordinator for people that don't know. But, he's not a guy that's been questioned a lot. Back-to-back punt blocks, though. And Dr. Dyson walked through exactly what happened, and both times were pretty much on Josh Wiley.
That's on the rookie. And
can you blame it on Josh Wiley? This has happened year after year after year after year after year with this guy.
When? What has happened?
Terrible special teams. You can't blame Josh Wiley for Craig Aukerman's mistakes. It's been so long. He's one of Mike Vrabel's buddies. He won't fire him. This is what happens all the time with Mike Vrabel. It's trash. And you know what? Ryan Tannehill wouldn't have held that kick if they didn't kill freaking the poor punter out there. He is a terrible special teams coach. Look, I've never played football, never coached football. I could do better than him. I guarantee you. He is awful. Aukerman needs to go yesterday. He's trash. He is such trash.
Okay. Well, let me say.
It's funny how he started his call. I'm not as crazy as
I'm not as crazy as people.
I honestly, and I might be wrong, but I honestly don't remember the Titans having a block punt problem.
No. Let me say this.
I'm trying to look it up right now. I don't remember that being a problem.
For those that never played or never coached, let me say this. At some point, a player has to take responsibility for his job duties, his role and responsibilities. That was not a Craig Aukerman problem. That was not a special team coach problem. That was a communication on the field problem. If a guy running with the football and gets stripped, that's not because Vrabel's a bad coach. That's a guy that didn't protect the football. If a quarterback makes an ill-advised throw in traffic, that's not a quarterback coach problem. That's the quarterback making an ill-advised throw. If a receiver drops the football, that's not the receiver coach problem. That's the receiver not looking the ball in or catching the football. This is one of those instances where it's not the coach. The coach coached him up, and the player didn't do what he was responsibility. And that's my perspective of it as a former player, looking at it, just knowing what the rules are on the thing. So I'm not saying that I'm not giving a complete pass to Craig because he's responsible for special teams, but that was not on the coach. That was on a player being schemed, and he didn't understand his role. That's from my perspective.
And you played at the highest level for a long time.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I get it. I get
you had
it.
special teams work, which I didn't know. I didn't know you were the backup holder.
And I get it. And we're trying to find something to hang our hat on and stake blame. Like, this is why, this is why, this is why. And as rare as a double block is, you can see where the kid had been coached up to go inside out, where he overextended and he lost sight of his rules from a protection standpoint. That, again, if you want to cast a stone, you can almost say Craig overcoached and told him, no, you got to stay on the inside. Like, watch both punts back to back. You can see the first time he lets the guy inside go. He fans out to the guy on the outside. He lets the guy that has a faster track to the punter go. The next time he does not do it. He stays inside where he should have, because the guy was locked up with another protector and he should have fanned out, and then that guy comes scot-free. If you look at it, in my opinion, you look like the coach did coach him up.
Austin Stanley from A to Z Sports says they have a story coming tonight on their website. He said the Saints blocked a punt in week 1, which I'd forgotten about, the same way as today's second blitz block from the gunner off the edge. He said Ackerman had some comments about it following the Saints game about how they would clean it up. They're writing a story about it today. I said, was it Wiley? And he said, not sure on the player. My guess is it would not have been Wiley in the opener as a rookie, but I don't know. So, I forgot about that one.
But again, to that caller's point, is this a consistent theme? But that also shows you the film work that their special team coach put in to acknowledge a weakness that he felt like they had on the punt team.
Because he's like, I got him twice. He's on the plane right now, like, I got him twice.
But again, there are rules to this. And you are supposed to know your rules as a protector. Now, I don't want to throw Wiley completely under the bus, but I'm about to. And beep, I'm about to throw him under the bus. But my point, I mean,
if it's real, it's real, right? I mean, he's got to count.
He's got to count. And there's numbers to this. And they overload aside the hope that you make a wrong decision. And he made a wrong decision twice. I'm pretty sure it was him both times.
It was.
And he made the wrong choice both times.
615-737-1045. Let's see. Yeah, what do you got?
I'm just saying, please understand, I'm not excusing the coaches, but I'm saying in that instance, that was not the coach. That was a player flaw.
Well, but let's say they fire the special teams coach, Craig Ackerman.
What does that do?
What does that do for you?
What does that do?
I mean, they keep losing games. He will have to make some staff changes, but it won't be one guy. And maybe he gets caught up in that. I don't know, but.
Well, let me give you the other side of this. You got the punters leading the league in punting and net and yards per punt. Is that the player or is that the coach?
And the kickers miss one field goal all year.
Is that the player or the coach? Because you can't give him blame for the blocked punts and not give credit for the other.
Great point.
It's the same thing.
Let's go back to another Dylan. This one in Dylan in Nashville. Dylan, what's up?
Hey, guys, how you doing?
A
lot of the points I was going to bring up I think have already been touched on, so I'm just going to kind of do a fan experience. So, longtime fan, got season tickets this year, was really stoked. But I just can't, for the life of me, get hype after I see a baby rendition of Thunderstruck. Or if I see, let's give everybody a senior slogan. Let's go around. Guys, who's ever in charge of the Predators fan day experience, please, God, hire them for the Titans, because it just feels like I'm at a freaking cringe compilation on YouTube at the Stadium. I know the players vibe off of the atmosphere, and it's just, you can't get excited when we're listening to freaking Katy Perry out there. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you, guys.
Some people get excited with Katy Perry.
As I was on a focus group talking about fan experience and the transition from one stadium to another, and that was part of the conversation. What would you say is part of the Titan experience? And that's that conversation that's being had. So, I think everybody's different. I think we all have our things that's important to us, and you also got to be mindful of young listeners, but you also got, you know what I mean? And so it's interesting that
but also the people that are paying
a lot of money and coming to the game. But I will say this, the organization but again, and a lot of stuff behind the scenes people are not even aware of, that they really are acknowledging some things that they want to make sure they address. And, I can't speak to everything right now because it's still a conversation, but they definitely are thinking about all these aspects of the game fan experience.
Yeah, and I don't know I don't know necessarily what's going on detail-wise in terms of their game presentation and all this and what they're planning on doing going to a new stadium and all those things. But I will say just on a broader scope that I always preferred college football because of the pageantry and the marching bands and all of the stuff that they do that the NFL doesn't. Yeah. Because I think the NFL has always kind of thought, we have the product, we're going to sell the product.
Yeah.
And the product is the game on the field.
The game on the field, the players.
And, ratings and all those things and the dollars and they indicate do that. But, I think you're going to see a time moving forward, probably sooner rather than later, where the NFL does turn to more like excitement in game stuff.
Yeah, and shout out to Williamson County Schools today with their student section and bands playing and things like that.
Nolensville High School.
Nolensville played. So shout out to all them. We had some of my students were there and things of that nature. So I think it is typically a quote unquote older crowd that comes to these games, and what you're talking about is like college kids, like they just chanting and jumping up and down, just that whole atmosphere. And it's hard to duplicate that experience in a pro setting, just because most people, they're young. You talk about fandom. I'm thinking about the MUSS, the Moose of University of Utah, how they got that thing rocking, and that's in my little community or school up there. And you talk about some of these stadiums out this way. It's just a different feel. And players, it's different for us too.
It's different for you too, because now it's different in college football, but you guys are making money as a
business side of it. Yep.
But now we're seeing a world where
that. They're making money now too in college. So.
Cam Ward, the Washington State quarterback's got at least 10 offers of $1 million to transfer.
Gosh, that's just phenomenal,
isn't it?
That's just crazy.
I was having a conversation with my mother today, and she's not a football person, and, she's not in that world at all, but she was like, college players are making money now? And so, that's where she is.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, and here's the gist of it. Because you could go easily an hour of trying to explain that to someone who doesn't know anything about it, on a third grade level. But I said, here's the bottom line. It's about name, image, and likeness. And who should control that, you or someone else?
Yeah.
Maybe someone else, but with you, the catalyst, But
I think there's a way to keep amateur sports amateur and professional sports professional with still doing that. And I think there's different ways that, from an investment standpoint, invest in a player, put into an endowment that as long as they graduate, they get this money.
Because right now it's the Wild West. There are a lot of different things you can do. Listen, I've heard from other coaches in the Power 5 level that because the portal hasn't even opened. It opens tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you've got 43 quarterbacks in the portal, but there's really no portal yet.
Yeah.
But and all the coaches are letting it go because they're all doing it.
Who's affected? That high school kid.
Yeah. Right. And so my question to some of these guys, and this is why I'm kind of trying to run my little traps, is I'm really interested to see how schools handle this, because I think it's going to be different for everybody. But everybody's got an NIL budget, right? School to school, it's not the same.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I was told Georgia doesn't have the NIL budget that Ole Miss has, for example.
Of course,
but they don't necessarily need to right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
and then, so all things being equal, what percentage of the NIL budget, school to school, do coaches decide to put on Power 5 transfer, Group of 5 transfer that you've scouted and you think can be a developed player and maybe get on before anybody else, high school elite player, high school 3-4 star player? What percentage of those? Because I think everyone's going to handle it differently.
Yeah, and that's why I say the high school kids affected, because kids are getting offers, but they're essentially having to wait until after all this movement that's happening in the next several weeks is done before they actually get the official mutual commitment.
And then to to pile onto that, some states allow schools to go ahead and pay NIL dollars to high school athletes while they're still in high school. That's where Missouri is getting players.
Yeah.
Missouri's able to do that. Some states are not.
Not doing that.
Like Tennessee's not.
Yeah. I hate it for that. I was on can't talk about committees, but I was on a committee at the University of Utah, and we were talking about the NIL and how the University of Utah was trying to do, how to help the little guys. You know, the Cam Risings and people like that, they were going to get some deals. But some of the little guys, how can they bring in monies to help some of the yellow guys? But again, it's so much of a business that they're bringing some of those old heads, me, Steve Smith, Alex Smith, some of these guys, they even have these conversations. And we're talking about ex-professional athletes, talking about amateur sports. So it's just an interesting conversation and dynamic. I hate it as a secondary educator because you see kids who are kind of waiting on the wait and see list that are talented, and that's all over the state because they're going to invest in a guy who has played, has film, has played a couple years for that holy grail, the opportunity to be one of the Final Four. And so to see what happens, again, the Alabama and Georgia's, I know they have a big-time endowment for the NIL, but maybe not to the likes, as you mentioned, like of Ole Miss. I don't know what Tennessee's endowment is, and I'm talking about SEC because SEC is one of the leaders.
Is huge.
Yeah, and they're SEC is one of the leaders in the NIL business, and rightfully so. They're leaders in everything when it comes to collegiate sports. So it's going to be interesting to see as we go forward. I think they're going to have to find some way to cap this, but I know we got a little tangent, but I just...
Yeah, we did. Real quick, Ricky on YouTube. You can watch the show YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. Don Davenport would say Twitch, please, there. The F&M Bank chat is open. He said that Bama-Georgia game was one for the ages. Saban ain't done yet. Saban's best coaching job this season. I saw their opener against MTSU. It is unbelievable how different that team is now. All over the board. And you can start, like, the obvious thing is Jalen Milroe. Mm-hmm. But that offensive line is so much better. The running backs are better. Like, I mean, it's crazy. You knew the defense would get better because that's what he does. But
and they're 4?
4, yep.
The Michigan?
Yeah. Michigan. In the Rose
Go ahead,
Bowl.
Michigan. Go ahead and get to the playoffs, get the number 1 seed. You're welcome. You get Alabama. There you go.
Think they'd rather play Florida State?
Absolutely.
Definitely true. All right. We didn't get to the 2 plays back-to-back, the flea flicker to NWI and then the inside handoff to D-Hop. We'll talk about that. Also, Titans and false starts. Woo.
Yeah,
they're up there.
That kills Vrabel right there. He hates them pre-snap penalties.
Yep, 615-737-1045 with you until 6:30 on Lee Company Titans Talkback. Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Time for the Kroger Sacks for Cash. Today, the Titans had 3 sacks, courtesy of a defense that was trying to get after Gardner Minshew. Azeez Al-Shire had 1. Danico Autry had 1, a strip sack. And then Arden Key and Harold Landry split 1. So that's 3. That's 43 now for the season. And that's $4,300 for the season. Kroger's donation to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee now stands at, as I said, $4,300, courtesy of the 3 sacks today. Every time the Titans sack the opposing team's quarterback, Kroger donates $100 to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee from Kroger through its Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan. Kroger is committed to ending hunger in our communities. 31-28, the final. Titans fall to the Indianapolis Colts. First loss this year at Nissan Stadium. Will Levis now 2-1 as a starting quarterback at Nissan Stadium, but I always try to find the positives. Will Levis now 2-0 in his career in regular season finishes at Nissan Stadium.
I mean, he wasn't lighting the world on fire. He missed a lot of throws today.
He did. But he's tough, though, man. When he threw that pick, which they called a fumble, which was weird, but he threw the pick and, immediately went down the field and recovered the fumble.
And he went after, too. Physical guy.
That's what I'm saying.
I will say this, that run early in the game that sets the tone.
Oh, when he went airborne?
Yep.
Matt Ryan goes, I've never done that before. We're like, we know, Matt.
Oh, he did? And then when he went after D-Hop, the veteran all-pro receiver, for that communication, he's starting to become his team. He's starting to get vocal and let everybody know this is his huddle now. He was quiet in the first few weeks. Now he's starting to come on now, let's go. Let's get this thing together. So I do like that progression of him from a league standpoint.
So he overthrew D-Hop, but he threw it kind of awkwardly in that, he looked like he was almost surprised by the route, but threw it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back and watch, and D-Hop stutter stepped at the beginning of the route. Do you think that's what it was?
Yeah, I couldn't tell because he threw it out of bounds. Wasn't even catchable ball, even still. But there was something in that communication of he's holding that ball, waiting on him to win or whatever it was, and he was upset about it. And he let him know. He didn't even hide it. And there's good in that. And then there's people like Mac wouldn't have said that. He'd have waited to the sideline and had that conversation. He wouldn't have shown that on the field, but that's just Mac. He was just always going to be this way.
Plus, yes, he was that way for sure. But also Will Levis is young, fiery guy,
who wants to win, and you know. So and now he's in the driver's seat. So you know.
So if you ran if an incorrect route was run, Mac would go to the sideline and speak calmly and.
Oh, he always drop a pass. He wouldn't say nothing. He never got flustered. He just went on, hey, get the next one. And then you say, my bad, man, on that route. He's like, I got you. Don't worry about it. Do the next time. That was just him, though. He just never got rattled, never got flustered.
That's the mindset that I always learned. Especially in a team sport, is I tell a story all the time. Coach Corbin was, we went to baseball camp or whatever, and he stands on top of the dugout and speaks for 20 minutes to start each camp day. And most of the parents stay because they want to hear what message he has. And he was telling a story about Dansby Swanson. He's like, you guys all know about Dansby Swanson? The kid's like, yeah. He was like, okay, well, everybody strikes out in baseball, right? You got to learn how to fail.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful thing about that sport. And so he's like, Dansby, for example, would strike out. He'd come to the dugout, and he might slam his helmet down a little harder than normal. But every single teammate would fist bump him and say, I got you. Or, sorry, Jackson was telling me something. Pick me up, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up. That's what he would be saying to his teammates. Pick me up, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up. And that's kind of what you just said with Steve.
Team game, man. We all need each other.
Get it next time.
Yep.
That's what they told Wiley probably, and he didn't. So
he said no.
Again, special team story coming on A to Z Sports later if you want to dive into that. Austin Stanley texted me about Ackerman. He said he does have Stonehouse and Folk, but he's had some punt returner mismanagement going all the way back to Adoree, rotating Dory kicker until they got Folk countless penalties on all the special teams units. Appreciate the love. So, well, I'll read that. A2Csports.com. 615-737-1045. What did you think about those two plays? Back-to-back. Levis with the flea flicker, where it was a weird flea flicker in that Spears got so far away from Levis, he had to throw him a pass.
Yeah. And I
which
just
is
think
rare.
the timing was a little off and protection wasn't there. And they sent a
But it worked.
blitz
It was
too.
schemed out
well.
Yeah.
And there was another opportunity. They tried to do the same thing. It just didn't work out very well. And then the handoff underneath, again, at least we were sitting here.
With D-Hop, yeah.
D-Hop. We're sitting here weeks ago and they're saying there's no creativity. They're not doing nothing. And now we do the things, and that seems to be a criticism as well. But at least you feel like they're trying to find ways to utilize all the weapons at their disposal. You can really see a concerted effort to get D-Hop involved. And again, it's a little too late. I don't know, but at least they're trying to get him involved some sort of way in the game. Put the ball in his hands.
Yeah, let's see. DeAndre Hopkins, 5 receptions, 75 yards, 12 targets.
12 targets.
Michael Pittman Jr. on the Colts, man, was phenomenal today.
He had like 15, 16 targets, something crazy.
11 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown on 16 targets.
16 targets.
And his long reception was 14 yards. It was all like hammer ball. You know what I mean? Like,
he made a tough catch in there, guy in his face and hands all draped over around him right
Dr.
there.
Gibby had his hands in there. Yeah. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Chris in Lewisburg next up on not 3HL, Titans Talkback. That's twice today. Titans Talkback presented by Lee Company. Chris, what's up?
Hey, guys. Like you said earlier, that was a tough one to swallow, especially, and it's a reality check. For all intents and purposes, that was the end of their season as far as their playoff chances go.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at the remaining schedule, which has turned out to be pretty rough considering as good as the Texans are. But, I've been like most fans and had my doubts about Vrabel and his coaching staff the last few weeks. But the last couple of weeks, and especially today, the way they played their butts off today, and they was within one missed extra point of winning that game. Mike Vrabel has not lost that team. It's just like most of the experts predicted preseason, this was just not that good of a team. They don't have enough talent, and that's what it's showing. But going forward, I kind of feel good about this team, especially when you look at Rand's first draft class. Just think if Duncan could become a legit starter, and then you got maybe your franchise quarterback going forward, I mean, that's a pretty good draft, and I just think, if they can get a few more pieces and but this season I think is pretty much over. And then the last thing I want to end with is with Stonehouse. Kevin, explain to me why that isn't a penalty when you can run into a defenseless kicker's legs like that and practically end a young punter's career.
They made contact with the ball. That's part of it.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if they missed the ball and did that, then it would be a penalty, but they got the block.
Thank you, Chris. Good stuff, man. Appreciate it. I mean, fair on the 4-8 record. Tough to do anything with that.
And I think I think that kind of sealed the fate. Because I remember I was counting it too, because they were showing people that were still in the hunt, Colts being one of them.
Mm-hmm. They were only one game behind the Colts if they won.
Yep. Right, and then you never know. You got 2 in a row and then 2 in a row. I mean, Miami's going to be tough regardless. But say you go up there and have a game of your life, you beat Miami.
You never know in the NFL.
Right.
That's the weird thing about it.
Matchup builds the game, man, and they might not match up well in a lot of respects. They're not a physical team up front. And now Derrick Henry being gone, there might have been a game where he'd be able to control the narrative and keeping that high-powered offense on the sideline.
Jawan Jennings and Deebo Samuel are just dogs at wide receiver, man.
Yeah.
And they both had touchdowns
Blaze, today. UT Vol.
Yep. 615-737-1045. Titans with more false starts today. They're 31st in the NFL in false starts. Excuse me, number 2 in the NFL in false starts. They're the second worst team.
God, that doesn't help an offensive line that struggled all year for sure.
Right. Well, they're trying to get off quicker because they think they have to, right?
Yep.
Dan in Springfield next up. Dan, what's up?
Guys, week after week, we talk about the same thing. Vrabel talks about the same thing. The team's inability to get the defense off the field on third down, and the offense's inability to stay on the field on third down because of unforced errors, bonehead plays, and bad penalties. Colts' first drive of the game, 2nd and 8, Kayvon Wallace makes a play.
Yep.
And then for some reason, he got to go over the Colts sideline, point a finger at someone, and run his mouth.
Yep.
15-yard penalty, first down for the Colts. They wind up going down the field, scoring a touchdown. And on TV, they showed Vrabel having a discussion with Wallace. The only discussion Vrabel should have had with Wallace should have been, go sit your butt down on the bench. You're done for the day. I got 52 guys here that want to win a football game, but you seem to have other priorities. One last thing. When you hear a guy being described as a player's coach, sometimes he's a player's coach for the wrong reason. Sometimes it's because he's more interested in being liked than being respected. And I'm about to use a word that some people might consider profane, so put your finger on the button.
I'm gonna have to stop you there, dude. Like, if you're gonna warn me about it, like
he warned you though.
Yeah, then I've got to do my job because my boss would be like, "You knew it was coming, and you still let him do it." I mean, come on. But I understand the frustration. Here's a pragmatic way to view this. It's difficult for him to just sit a defensive back when you have limited numbers. I know you say 52. How many of them are cornerbacks?
Yeah.
Right, and it's really 48. 48
and special teams and everything else involved. And let me say this: the definition of a player's coach is not about necessarily being liked by your players. That's part of it. But player's coach is understanding the psyche and the mentality and the physicality of the game, and how you scheme out your practices, when to overload your players, when to back off, when to give them rest, when to push them, when to play the mental games. That's the stuff from a player standpoint of a player's coach. There's some coaches, like I'll use Manzini. If you remember Manzini, my brother played with him. And he played for him in the Jets. They full pads every day. He just wore them down, grinded. He wasn't a player's coach because he didn't understand the physicality and psyche of a player. So it wasn't about being liked. And I don't know if Vrabel has that, but that's not necessarily the definition of a player's coach from a player's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that term gets thrown around, but there are different definitions for it. All right, more with you when we come back. Titans Talkback presented by Lee Company next. 3HL is tomorrow, not today. Why am I doing it all day today? This is 104.5 The Zone. Man. Lee Company countdown to kickoff comes out to you next Monday before the Titans play the Miami Dolphins. Lee Company Titans Talkback. I'm in all the shows today. Remote Caleb will tomorrow morning at 6, 12 hours from right now. I hope they get their sleep. They should already be in bed. Getting ready to talk about this travesty of a loss, 31-28. How do you get 2 punts blocked? Back-to-back possessions. Man, I'm not going to walk you through that. You explained it beautifully earlier in the show about counting numbers and
they just,
the Colts
they just
got him.
Overloaded on him and got him.
He didn't know how to deal with it. Yeah.
And there's somebody on the line that wants to argue with me. It's fine.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. You can Richard.
Oh, you want to go to Richard and Winchester? Okay, 615-737-1045. Let me tell you that Lee Company, all you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. So let's do that. And then go to Richard in Winchester. Richard, what's up?
What's up, guys? I don't want to argue with you about that play, Dr. Dyson. Well, first of all, let me get my first point. I think we should fire the special teams coach this week. And that's my sentiment. That's my opinion. That's why I'm calling in.
I don't think they're going to do those one at a time, though. Like, if it gets to a point where they make staff changes, I think you'll see several of them. And, he could get caught up in that for sure.
Well, interesting that we're having this one because of 2 blocks, but I didn't hear a whole lot about Tim Kelly.
That's not my beef with you.
Oh, okay.
That's not my beef with you.
Okay.
Okay. My beef with you, and this is the first time I've ever had a beef with you.
I appreciate it.
Okay. I saw your expression when the guy said that he did not play football. And what irks me about these athletes who come on these networks like Fox, ESPN, former players, is that they're very condescending to people who probably are just average 5'10", 180 pounds, and don't have the whatever to play football, just like the athletes, when they retire, come on these shows and didn't major in journalism.
Right.
Right. So let us have our opinion. Half of the GMs, from what I read, didn't play football.
Right.
And so just because you played the game doesn't mean you're 100% correct.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
hang on, Dyson. It does. Wait. Our show.
And I gave that gentleman credit. My point in saying what my face was you're talking about something when I was saying that the player was responsible for that. That wasn't on the coach. That's what I was saying.
Not that he's not a good coach or a good coach. You weren't saying that. Yes,
I was saying that was on the responsibility of the player.
Because you have been in those practices. You know how that is taught and how it goes down.
Right, and that's all I was saying. So when he said he didn't play, I'm like, well, that's what I'm talking about. I get what you're saying. You're frustrated with special teams coach. My argument, my rebuttal to that was, in my opinion, that wasn't on the special teams coach solely. He did try to correct it. If you look, he went from one extreme to the other. That was on the young player that got taken advantage of. Am I doing a better job of explaining that, Richard? I don't know if he's still on or not.
Yeah, I had to.
Oh, okay.
We needed to, let you talk for a second.
No, I get it.
Richard, what's up?
Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about you explaining. I'm talking about your expression when the guy said he never played and you threw your hands in the air.
Yeah, but that's why he just told you.
I just told you why I did
why
that.
he got upset. It had nothing to do with the guy not having played football.
I don't care about that. I don't care.
But that's when you threw your hands up when you say he didn't play.
Hey, real quick, there is a delay on the video feed sometimes. I don't know about that, but he's telling you exactly why he threw his hands up in the air. Why are we having this discussion? Thank you, Richard. Damn.
I wasn't. Listen,
you want
Richard,
to talk about getting worked up over stupid, dumbass details?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I wasn't diminishing the man's explanation. I threw my hands up in frustration because I was like, again, I'm giving you my context of it and why I don't think it was solely on their special teams coach. And my point of view was, as a former player who was watching this, I'm not excusing the players. We tend to, on these shows, throw coaches and GMs under the bus. We tend sometimes to forget in individual cases, play by play, there's an instance where Wiley was taken advantage of on back-to-back plays, in my opinion. That necessarily, and I feel like from a coach's perspective, that Craig, just based on what happened, he coached it up from one extreme to the other. I don't know if he's on a hot seat, and we talked about the game in New Orleans and all the things.
No idea. He might be.
He might be. I don't know. But I was frustrated in that context at that time where I don't know if I threw my hands up or what face I made. I don't know if people watching.
It just happened to happen right after he said that.
Right.
But you were really reacting to the previous comment.
Right.
Is what that's how I took it.
So again,
also I don't think it matters.
And
you can have whatever opinion you want to have anytime you want to have it.
All day long.
Just like all of our callers. Y'all can have any opinion. And Richard, thank you for calling in.
And I'm not God's gift to football. Just because I played, I mean, I have everything, all knowledge. I'm basing off of what I see and from my experience. I'm not saying I was even right, but I'm telling you from my experience and what I saw from those two plays, that's what I feel like. Now, we'll see if they explain it, meaning if Craig comes up and Monday and have a conversation, if he explains it anytime any different, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the rules are different. I don't know. But from my explanation and my experience, that is what I based that off of. So, I don't mind Richard saying that, but again, I was just he didn't want to take my explanation of what happened. Like it was just because he saw something or something in me. He made the assumption that I was diminishing a man's call. Now I was not diminishing a man's call at all.
Lead Company Titans Talkback more with Brent Dougherty and Dr. Kevin Dyson. Coming up next, walking you up to Sunday Night Football. Appreciate you being with us. We'll be right back. 104.5 The Zone. Titans Talkback presented by Lee Company. I think you explained it a little bit better during the break.
Yeah.
In that you were frustrated because you weren't allowed to, like, sometimes people just go and go and go and go.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it because they're upset, and that guy was about those 2 punts blocked. And I said, I've never seen that in a game. And you said, well, here's what happened. And you outlined exactly what happened. It's a numbers game, and you've got to count inside out. And they knew that he miscounted on that overload situation on the right side. And so then they countered with
they did the exact same thing, but gave him a different look.
He would overcompensate by going more inside, and the gunner would be able to get there, and that's exactly what happened.
Did. Yep.
And so I guess what you were telling me, and please correct me if I'm wrong,
absolutely,
because I'm not great at listening, but I've been told. The crux of the matter is that someone was going on and on and on about fire a guy, fire a guy, fire a guy, and you were trying to explain what happened. And he just kept blowing right past it.
Yeah.
And that's why you got frustrated.
That's why I got frustrated. My frustration was he said, I never played in coach. I was like, what? That's why I'm trying to explain to you from a player's perspective. We also have accountability in this too. And from that point
because most people that called haven't played before.
Haven't played. And most people that call the show, most people that called this show have not played a coach. So if that was the case, if I'm diminishing anybody's call, I apologize because most people that call here are not the Titan players are not the ones calling in.
No, and I always say this when people say that to me, like you didn't play college football in the NFL or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, but like, okay, you were never president. Do you have an opinion about politics?
Mm-hmm.
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
And you're afforded that opportunity.
And you're entitled to that opinion all day long.
Okay. You want to try it? Jackson, what do you need from me? We're all over the board today.
2 5s and Eurofix.
There you go.
Hey, right behind the curtain there, baby. All right, Lee Company, all you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. We'll get to set in just a second. Eurofix look ahead. We look ahead to next week's opponent, and the look ahead presented by Eurofix. Let me remind you that Eurofix repairs everything European that you drive and below dealer pricing. ASE certified technicians, a local company that has serviced Middle Tennessee for more than 2 decades. Visit EurofixOnline.com. Next week, Monday Nighter, Titans head to Miami, play the Miami Dolphins. What do you think? I mean, number one, it's like what % of Shane Bowen's calls will be man-to-man and what % will be zone. That's the biggest problem I see from defenses with Miami. Yeah.
How aggressive is he, especially if Big Jeff is out? There goes interior pass rush, that guy that can get to Tua the fastest, get in his face and maybe disrupt, maybe make him some ill-advised throws. It's a track meet out there, man, and do you feel comfortable with your guys and how long they can hold up if you don't get there? So it'd be interesting to see the game plan, especially early. Some guys have gone overly aggressive and played man-to-man. That didn't bode well. Some guys have gone completely soft and said going zone, and that didn't work. So I think you got to have a mixed bag, but ultimately you got to be able to get after Tua and make him make some bad throws.
Tyreek Hill, huge day today. 5 for 157 and 2 touchdowns. For the season, 93 receptions, 1,481 yards already, and 12 touchdowns. The problem with going man-to-man on them, and people try to do it, but if you don't get to Tua,
you're in trouble.
Then you're dealing with 2 routes as opposed to 1.
Yep.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Ooh. I would not want that headache. Not right now.
He has 8 100-yard games, 1 215-yard game so far this season.
And you know he's getting the ball. That's what's amazing, right?
Yeah.
All right, I know you got to get the calls.
Cedric. Ced, what's up, Ced?
Man, hey, listen, man, what y'all need to do is get like a 3-hour Botox injected into your face so y'all can sit there and look like the Joker and just smile at everybody so you don't offend anybody with your expressions, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Actually, I forget we're on TV, so.
Yeah, hey, listen, okay, the positives. Will Levis, I love his presence in the pocket. His footwork looks unbelievable for a rookie. Obviously, we know his arm talent. He really puts me in the mind of a young Matthew Stafford. So hopefully we can get him coached up. Now, let's talk about Mike Wisenhunt, man. We have the worst coach in the division. It's not even close. He's 0-3 against Doug Peterson. Now he's 0-2 against Steichen. What do we think he's going to do against DeMeco Ryans with what he's got going on? What is everybody talks about a Mike Vrabel coach team. I mean, what is that exactly? An undisciplined team that – listen, okay, we all know what stars are, and all of y'all have talked about it. We've all heard it. Stars find a way to win games. Mike Vrabel is supposedly, air quotes, a star of this team with Derrick Henry. But we find ways to lose games every week. He is 18-29 now against teams with a winning record. And we are trying to ascend to the top of the AFC South. It's not happening, man. He is not out-coaching Doug Peterson. He's already shown he's not out-coaching Steichen, and he's not going to out-coach DeMeco Ryans, man. This is a head coaching issue, and I would love to hear what y'all have to say about that, man. Y'all be easy. Hopefully, man, we don't get 50 hung on us next week, bro.
50?
Ooh, I hope not.
I hope not, like 70.
Man. Oh, Tyreek Hill's scary.
Listen. Man. The Titans have, 4 3-and-outs in a row? Go do that against Miami. See how many points you're giving up.
You can't. And, matchups, they make games. They make championships. I get Ced's point on the coaching. And again, recent memory, the past calendar year has not been good. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no sugarcoating it. And we can continue to debate this as to the timing of it all. It's not happening this year, right? It's not happening this year. So to me, unless you just lose out, which then I think I think Amy Adams has to probably reconsider her conversation, but that's neither here nor there. I don't expect that would happen, but say they go 5-5 or right around 500 the rest of the way. To me, the telltale conversation is what is done in that January to April from coaches and player personnel standpoint, because that's going to tell your points of emphasis. And as a coach, and it may be, I'll go back to the other conversation we just had, it may be Craig Ackerman. We don't even know. That name has never come up in none of these conversations until today, obviously, because the 2 bad plays that are here in recent memory. So say it is special teams. Is it offense coordinator? Is it D coordinator? Is it O-line coach? Who is he going to put out there as on the chopping block to say we got to make a change here to hopefully get what we need out of players going forward, especially if he's under the impression that he's under a 1-year show.
Right. Also, it's hard to make. I would think it's hard to make in-season coaching changes. I know they happen, obviously, but like who are you hiring? Like who's out there that's better than some other people that are on staffs and stuff like that? I don't know. I mean, ideally, I think you would want to wait until the offseason and get that done. But
we've seen coordinators here recently get let go. But okay, yes. say you let Tim Kelly go.
But I'm talking about position coaches and things like that.
And say you let one of the coordinators, say offense coordinator, go.
Who's calling the plays?
Who's calling the plays? Who's behind him? Right?
I don't know who a play caller on the staff would be.
I don't either. I don't know, and I could be negligent of that, or ignorant and not ignorant of that. But I don't know. But that's, again, I'm sure he's thinking about him being Vrabel and Rand, if you will, are thinking about all these scenarios. Trust me, they want to win just as bad as we want them to win. You know what I mean? They're competitors. Everybody in that locker room is a competitor. Everybody in that front office is a competitor. We all want to win. It's just sometimes, as we're documenting, sometimes what you are selling, people are not buying. So when do you have to go buy something different? And that's kind of this conversation. And, I think, and again, I still stand firm with this, Vrabel's coming back next year. It's just, I think for him, for his sake, he's got to make some moves. What those moves are, who knows? We know personnel's one. He's got to get better in a lot of different positions. But what does he do from a stats perspective, especially coming off a year where he had a lot of turnover?
Great point. Let's go back to the phones. Kenny in Nashville. Kenny, what's up?
Hey, guys. Real quick, I know just wanted to make a couple comments. First off, I want to talk about adjustments. Going back to last week against the Carolina Panthers, first half we had 17 points. We're rolling. Second half, we fall apart. Same thing this week. We start off, Derrick Henry, 17 carries, 89 yards first half. He finished the game with 102. Now, granted, he did get hurt midway through the fourth quarter, but, it just seems like we don't adjust well. And I can't tell you how many times on defense they had a 7 to 10 yard sit down routes for Pittman, and then you get beat by Pierce twice in the game. There are no adjustments, I feel like, from this coaching staff whatsoever. I can't, again, they come out in the third quarter, 10-minute drive. You have a 3rd and 8 with, I think it was Pittman going across the middle with 2 guys following him. Easy first down. You have a sit-down route with Pittman on a 2nd and 10 and gets 8 yards. It was the same thing over and over, and at the end of the game, you get one-on-one with Pierce, and he beats you again for the second time in the game. I find it very hard to believe that we're doing any kind of second half adjustments on offense and defense. And then my last point is on offense. We got to find a complement to DeAndre Hopkins. He's not a speed guy. He's a possession receiver, and he's a very good possession receiver.
Yep.
But we've got to find that speed guy. Traylon Burks, I get it, concussion, was a ghost today. I don't think he had a catch. I don't think he was targeted. And I get it, he's coming back from that concussion. But we've got to find some kind of complement. And then lastly is the special teams altogether just had a bad day. Bad kickoff on the first one, missed extra point, 2 block punts. I don't know if it's players, or coaching. I can't speculate on that. Right. I'm saying today was a horrible day for special teams together, but we have got to find a complement. DeAndre and second half adjustments are my biggest point.
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, it's an interesting point. With it's inexcusable for Pierce to get deep, in my opinion. His last touchdown was literally a calendar year ago, and he gets deep. You take out that. The Colts are interesting offensively in that you knew coming in they don't take deep shots, right? Like they did there, and they got it.
And that may be why Bunting was aggressive on that last play.
Yeah, and when you take that catch out of it, Minshew completed 25 of 41 for an average of 10 yards per reception.
Again, sometimes the numbers don't tell the story.
Yeah, and then the point about Derrick Henry, though, they did keep running. They just did it with Spears, and he ended up 16 for 75. Titans radio coverage produced by Philip Noel and Brad Willis, studio producer Joe Hunkapiller, scoreboard producer Lucas Panzica, promotions director Rich Ferris, director of sales Hunter Rice, general manager Allison Warren, operations managers Charlie Cook and Paul Mason, executive producer Rhett Bryant. Sorry, I got worked up there earlier. Got a headache. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online, leecompany.com. Later, y'all. Good night. God bless.